Hello. Today, I would love to talk to you about one of the most important and popular topics, manifestation. We see this word thrown around on social media, in books, magazines, teachers constantly speaking about it, educating people about it. But I think that the real meaning of it kind of disappeared or got lost in translation. I would say the cliche understanding of it is be positive and then, you'll attract it back, which of course does have truth in it. But I think that a lot of people just think that, if you walk into an office and you're just smiling at everybody, then magically there should be something that comes back to you, where I would say it's a lot deeper than that. So I would say, what does it really mean? What does it take to do it right? And I think that we first should get to the root, meaning and see where it even comes from to really understand it and be able to implement it correctly into our lives. So I do plan on doing more videos where we take a much deeper dive into this, as this topic I would say is eternal. But today we will just talk about the basics so you can just jump right in and start deliberately creating, I would say immediately. So, first, let's start with your thoughts. Have you ever thought about why they're so important? We all think that thoughts are just created by the brain and live inside of our heads. But what if I told you that each thought is an enormous amount of energy and it gets released into the universe immediately? So, a good analogy would be sound. So, imagine sound. A specific pitch can be so powerful that it can shatter glass. So, same with thoughts. I mean, we can't see them, but we can't deny its existence. We can't see wind, I would say, usually, but you could still feel it against your skin. And we don't question these things because science has been able to prove it long ago. But with something like thoughts, usually there's a lot of skepticism that comes with that. And I think science is starting to reach that point where they're doing a lot of tests, but it just hasn't been publicly announced as much yet. So each thought that we released has vibrates at a specific frequency. So just like a magnet, a thought attracts other thoughts and events that match that specific frequency. So let's say you're having a bad day and you're just constantly thinking about, all your fears, all your worries. It's a pretty low frequency that you're letting out. Well, that gets shot into the universe. And then the law of attraction, what it does is it finds other thoughts that are similar to that frequency, and then eventually it finds other events that then get dragged into your experience. And so that's when we start to see pattern, when we don't change our thought process. So first, let me ask you this. How many thoughts do you think that we have in one single day? Just say a number in your head. I'll give you a second to just think about it. All right, I'll tell you. About 60,000 thoughts a day. But guess what? About 90% of them are either negative or repetitive. So that, to me, when I first learned that, that was mind-blowing. So imagine if we replaced even a fraction of those useless thoughts, that would make a humongous difference in our lives. So, and when I say repetitive, I mean thoughts that don't really add value to us. Like if you're worried about something, you keep replaying that in your head. If you had something annoying happen in your past and you keep replaying that like a movie in your head. So those thoughts don't really give us any benefit. So the goal here is to try to replace them, to first filter what's even going in our heads, and then try to replace those thoughts as well. So have you noticed, for example, that some people get trapped in a cycle of the same kind of relationship happening over and over again. So you think, oh, this is not the right partner for me. We constantly fight, he's controlling. So you exit that relationship, but you're still in that, you're not in the right place to get into another relationship. But then there's someone else that comes along and seems perfect in the beginning. And then you get into a really deep relationship with that person. And what do you know? You discover that, he or she has very similar qualities to your previous partner. Now, this happens, I would say that's not really your fault, because I don't think you just don't realize that the thoughts that you've been giving out, the frequency that you've been creating with your vibration, has attracted other people that are very similar to your previous experience. But the good news is you can easily change that. The brain is like, it's like a muscle. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym in the beginning, it's hard, but then you get the hang of it. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And same thing with controlling your thoughts. At first, it's going to seem overwhelming. The speed, at how quickly the thoughts enter your head, boom, 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 just shooting uninvited. Uh, of course, that momentum in the beginning is going to be very fast because you've been wired to think a certain way from the beginning. From the day that you were born, you were a sponge taking in judgment of, oh, I like this, I don't like this. Oh, this is taboo. Okay, this is okay. We've been programmed to think a certain way from the very beginning. And so we've never actually challenged our mind and stopped to think, wait a second, this thought was uninvited. Why are you happening? Wait, why am I rethinking the past again? It's not making me feel good. We've never actually taken a few minutes a day to even just contemplate that and try to control the thoughts that come in. So right now, everything seems automatic. But the more you start to acknowledge it and pay attention to it, the more you will actually weaken the thoughts that come in uninvited. So the first thing I want you to do is just to start paying attention. That already will give you so much power. Because it's something that was not there before. Your awareness is your true self. The brain is actually our tool. We come into this body, the soul, that's your true self. The brain is a tool. Our mind is a tool. It's something that we should be able to utilize to help us survive, obviously, to help us think critically. But in terms of our real self, our creativity, that comes from the soul. And that soul is desperately, desperately trying to live your life and experience and guide you in the direction that you want to go in. But our mind starts to play tricks because it's been programmed very, very, strongly, I would say, from the very, very beginning of your life. So let's go back to what we can do about it. First, start paying attention. Everything that goes on in your head. Okay. When you notice a thought that actually enters your mind, first, acknowledge it. Thank it for coming into your experience. Great. And then you say goodbye. You're not adding any value to me. You can go away. You'll notice that immediately another thought comes in very, very, very quickly. Acknowledge it again and dismiss it. Go away. This is going to keep happening over and over again. But I promise you that the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. The more you will weaken the energy of those thoughts that come in automatically. And the more you weaken them, the slower they'll come in. At first, they'll be like this. Then it will be a little bit slower. And then you'll notice that the gaps in your mind will actually start increasing. So between one thought and another, you'll start seeing that the gaps are a little bit longer and longer and longer. And that is an amazing feeling. That's when you start to feel more clarity. That's when you start opening up more space for our life force to flow in from our actual soul. So imagine our soul inside of us is trying to flow into every single cell of your body. Well, what happens when we're stressed out, when we're panicking, when we're worried? we tense up so much that we actually block the energy for being able to flow everywhere freely. We block it. And so that's when it can lead to disease, it can lead to depression, it can lead to just jumbled thoughts and you don't know what to do. You lose your relationship with your intuition as well. So the more we start acknowledging the thoughts, you create more space and your soul, your energy starts to flow in. And that is when magical things start to happen. You start to notice clarity. You find yourself being a little bit more creative. You feel better. You feel more energetic. And then that's when the physical experiences also start changing, because at this point, your vibration will start raising and you will start giving out frequencies that are higher than the ones that you were giving before. And if that happens, that means you will attract something else, experiences, other thoughts, people that match that higher frequency. So immediately, it can only go up from here. As soon as you start to pay attention to your thoughts, to start filtering them, it can only go up from the point that you're at right now. And so you'll start to finally notice changes, positive changes. Now, the other thing that you can do, and I love this trick, this is what worked for me the best in the very beginning, is when you find yourself thinking about something negative, immediately replace it with something that you do want instead. So this is something that I learned from Esther Hicks and the Law of Attraction, and it really helped me in the toughest times of my life. So you cannot have two thoughts at the same time. So it may seem like you could, but it's actually one canceling the other thought very quickly. So when you find yourself thinking about something negative, go ahead and replace it with the complete opposite of it, of what you want instead. So for example, you can't find another job and you start thinking, oh no, what if I can't find a job this year? What if I run out of money? Boom, stop yourself. What do you want instead? I want a really good job. I want to feel good about that job. I want to have abundance. I want to be surrounded by good people. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to love my work. I want to have a good manager. The more you go into it, the better it is, because then you could start to actually feel the excitement. As soon as you start to actually feel it, you strengthen that energy so much that the vibration will help give out that really high frequency, and then you can attract something much quicker. So you can visualize, or you can visualize so much to the point where you kind of convince yourself that it's happening. And when you do that, stronger results. I'll give you an example. I know that you're probably thinking, well, easy for you to say, but what if I'm in such a crisis situation that it pisses me off to hear you say, oh yeah, be positive, or thinking about stuff you do want. Maybe my mind just can't do that right now. And I get it. I was in the same situation. I really did hate hearing the word positive. Be positive, no. But start small. Start small. You don't have to go into it full blown. You can start small. What do you want? I want to succeed. I want to feel better. Start there. Then work your way up, because the more you do it, like I said, those little thoughts will then start to attract other thoughts that match it. So in the beginning, it might just be, I want to feel better. I want to feel more relaxed. I want to feel calm. I want clarity. I want the decision to feel easier to make. I want to know myself more. I want to have better people in my life. I want to love myself again. And the more you do that, you'll notice that it's going to be easier and easier to come up with those thoughts. And when it comes to visualization and trying to actually trick yourself into having those same feelings, you don't realize how good you actually are at doing that. So here's an example. Think about right before going on vacation. Okay, you know that your flight is coming up in about 3 days and you're ecstatic, you cannot wait. And even though you've never been to this country before, but you're already planning it and kind of painting the pictures and the entire experience in your mind. So you might already know, you might picture yourself jumping in the water and snorkeling and seeing all the beautiful fish, and then feeling the sun against your skin. And then you get to finally relax on the beach and sipping on your margarita. Those things have not yet happened, but you're so excited about it. You know it's going to happen. You're awaiting it. You're expecting it, that you don't doubt it in your mind, and you all of a sudden become a very deliberate creator and you're painting the picture with no problems. Well, I know it sounds like it could be more challenging for something that's a little bit further reach, but it works the same exact way. So if you continuously visualize and just think about your goal, but not in a stressful way where it feels unattainable, but just picture yourself in that situation as if it's a vacation that's happening in 3 days. And thinking about you sitting in that beautiful office, for example. You're surrounded by so many people. You're in a brainstorming session and you've got all these amazing ideas popping in your head. And don't think about it like a movie where you're watching yourself from afar. Actually, try to imagine yourself in the situation like you are experiencing, and it's from your perspective, in your eyes, that you're actually living it. So when you do that, the more you do it, the more you'll actually start feeling excited. You will feel like you're actually in that role and you're living it. Now, that will move mountains. The more you do that, the more you practice, you will start to manifest. And those experiences will start flowing in. Maybe it's not exactly what you envision. It could be even better because the universe already knows what you want. Anytime you want something, it gets shot up into a thing called vortex, and it saves every single wish, every single desire that you have. So don't stress about having to tell the universe over and over what you want. You've done that part very well. We're all really good at asking what we want. But the second step now is just to try to get excited about it and then trust. Just like you know that that vacation is coming in 3 days, trust that the experience that you're waiting for is also going to flow into your experience as long as you allow it. As long as you relax your body, relax your mind, and let your soul flow into different parts of your body, surface to our skin, and actually fill our body and do what it's supposed to do. As soon as that does it, frequency goes up, everything flows into your experience. So, like I said before, I'm going to go over that in way more detail. I know there's so much we can talk about when it comes to energy, when it comes to the soul, and what we're doing here and how it all works. But first, I wanted to get this video out as soon as possible, just to get the basics out of the way, so you could start controlling your thoughts, raising your vibration, and living your dreams eventually, because we all have the ability to do that. Thank you, and I'll speak to you soon.